Hey everybody, I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast, and if you've been hanging out with me for this whole thing, working our way through the book of Matthew, one little chunk at a time every weekday, welcome back. Thanks for doing this. It's a big project, and I feel like we're making headway, and it's been really fun. If this is your first time here, though, hey, welcome. Thank you for jumping in. I like podcasts. And every now and then, I find myself just jumping in the middle of one, and there's this whole culture and all of this stuff, and it can feel kind of overwhelming on the front end. You do not need to feel like that. We don't have a bunch of inside jokes. We do have maybe some language that we're gradually accumulating that we use in shorthand to keep track of what's going on in the text, but none of that is incredibly highbrow or clever. You'll track with everything that's going on here. And if you find that you enjoy this and you want to dig deeper into it, you can just go back to the beginning whenever you want and chip away at it and catch up or not. It's the internet. You can do it however you would like. Either way, I'm just glad you're all here hanging out with me. Thanks for being up for processing a book that has reshaped history and cast an incredibly long shadow, I think in a really good way. And, well, it's also a book that sometimes gets picked apart in strange ways. And if you look at it in tiny little chunks, you can come to some bizarre conclusions. So what we're trying to do is just take it real slow and divorce ourselves from a lot of the presuppositions and just come at it from a generically healthy, skeptical, but also belief perspective, or at least that's how I'm coming at it as somebody who would say, yeah, I'm a Christian. I think that there's a God behind this document. That does not mean that I don't have questions. And today, I got questions. In fact, I got one great big giant glaring question, and that is, here we are in Matthew chapter 12. We have seen a ramping up of miraculous stuff at breakneck speed, especially after we get to chapter 8 and up through chapter 12. It's just insane miracle after insane miracle. I mean, stuff that you just can't explain away, stuff that's happening in front of tons of witnesses. And this miracle that we get to in Matthew chapter 12 that we're looking at right now in verses 9 through 14, which I'll read in just a second, this one blows my mind and has since I was a little kid, because here, the laws of time and space are being broken in front of everybody's faces. There's a guy whose arm is withered and rotted and twisted up, and Jesus, with a word, well, it's like actually 4 words, brings life back to this arm, like draws matter out of non-matter, like something out of a superhero movie in front of everybody. And you would think that the response to all of these miracles would be, okay, look, I might not be into your religion. I don't know all the things. I haven't said the Lord's Prayer, and I don't understand everything about God and theology and whatever, but you make arms grow back, like not in a week, like in a second. I just watch it happen, and it's like there's twinkling and magic and stuff. I don't know what to attribute it to or what to do, but whatever you say you're into, I am interested in that and would like to know more. You would think that would be everybody's response in the original audience, but that isn't how this passage or other passages like it end. Check this out. Matthew 12:9. Going on from that place, so this is a place where Jesus was walking through the grain fields, and he has an argument with the religious leaders of the day about whether it's okay to rub grain together in your hands on the Sabbath day. So going on from where that disagreement happened, he, Jesus, went into their synagogue. And a man with a shriveled hand was there. Looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, they, this is the Pharisees, asked him, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? Jesus said to them, if any of you has a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a man than a sheep? Therefore, it's lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand. So the man stretched it out, and it was completely restored, just as sound as the other. But the Pharisees went out and plotted how they might kill Jesus. What? How can this make you want to murder someone? I mean, it's not even like they were like, I don't know. It seems like mirrors or magnets or something. I don't think I'd probably totally believe in that. I mean, we have a religious thing that's going on right now. It's pretty good, and I get paid pretty well. I get these cool outfits. And I think it's true. I don't believe in that. I don't know what you just did there, but I'm just going to take a pass. No, it's a full rejection, a repudiation, a revulsion so strong that they're like, we haven't really ever murdered anybody before. I was thinking I probably wouldn't ever want to murder somebody, but that guy, I mean, he just broke the laws of time and space to heal a guy's hand on the wrong day of the week, and that is just too far. It's a total, angry, hostile, murderous rejection of this miraculous stuff. So again, back to, hey, I got questions about the Bible. Here's one of my questions that I've had since forever. If all this miraculous stuff is happening in ways that are as convincing as the text describes, why isn't everybody signing up? I had wondered that long before I'd ever, I guess, a little more carefully tried to look at the Gospels. And it was on a recent trip through the Gospels that I was like, oh, that question that I have that nags at me, that's actually anticipated by Jesus. It's called in advance by Jesus, and it is pretty thoroughly addressed in the text. So maybe it's problematic that people didn't see these miracles and enthusiastically and immediately sign up, but we can at least say it looks like it was not a surprise to Jesus. How do we know this? Well, in Jesus' first big public speech, the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5-7, he opens with these famous words called the Beatitudes. Blessed are these people, blessed are those people, for they will this, for they will that. And remember, the last of the Beatitudes is the one about persecution. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Oh, that's kind of interesting. It's sort of a little bit of a double meaning now. And when we looked at that the first time, we assumed that he's talking about the hearer. Like, blessed will you be, and you will have the kingdom of heaven when you suffer persecution. But now that we've worked a little further ahead in Matthew, there's kind of a little hint there that, well, Jesus has ownership of the kingdom of heaven, and he's going to be persecuted because of righteousness. He knew this stuff was coming. Then after the Sermon on the Mount in chapters 8 and 9, we see a pretty mixed response to the miraculous stuff of Jesus. Some people are like, dang, that's amazing. I'll follow you anywhere. Other people are like, we didn't really like that miracle. It's weird. We'd like you to please leave now forever. Other people seem to have their entire physical and social fate changed by the public miraculous work of Jesus in their lives, but we don't really get that thorough a sense of what they went and did with it, other than apparently they were pretty excited because after some of those miracles, we hear that news of all of these things spread through the region. But as that news spreads, some people like it and some people don't. And by the time we get to the passage we're looking at today, Matthew 12:9-13, or 14 rather, this miracle followed by mixed response motif has repeated so many times that now my childhood question is just pregnant in the text. Why isn't everybody signing up? And then Jesus drops this doozy over in Matthew chapter 13, very next chapter. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around. They got on a boat. He sat in it while all the people were on the shore. He said many things to them in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path and some birds came and ate it up. Some fell on the rocky places. And he goes on to describe, we're going to cover it like next week or whatever. Next week, that's ambitious. We're going to cover it when we get to it. So the summary is of this very, very famous parable. You got this guy who sows seeds and he goes out and he just indiscriminately throws seeds all over the place. It lands on 4 different types of potential growth surfaces. And 3 of those 4 types of growth surfaces, types of soil, don't take. The seed goes for a little while, but it gets choked out, or the seed gets picked off by birds and it never ever puts down roots. But only 1 of the 4 types of soil, 25% of the types of places where the seed could land, does it really take root and produce a harvest, a return on the seed. And Jesus explains exactly what the parable means, so there's no real reading into it. Why is that parable in the Bible, and why is it in Matthew chapter 13? I think it's real simple, because it ain't just 15-year-old me that wanted to know why everybody wasn't signing up at a 100% conversion rate in response to the miracles of Jesus. And when we get to that parable and we break it down more carefully, you'll see that Jesus hints at some reasons for why that isn't happening. Also, over in Luke 16, one of the really famous but really strange teachings of Jesus, you get this account of the rich man and Lazarus. This isn't the Lazarus that Jesus famously raised from the dead. This is the Lazarus who only appears in this story, parable. I don't know what kind of genre of storytelling this is, but this is the guy who's the beggar. He sits outside the gate and he dies and the angels carry him to Abraham's side in paradise. But the rich guy who lived inside, who didn't really do anything to look out for poor Lazarus outside his walls, he is in torment and agony. And he's like, oh, Father Abraham, let me send somebody to go and warn my brothers so that they won't come to this place of torment. And you remember the response. It's like, no, I don't think we're going to do that, because if they don't listen to Moses and the prophets, they won't be convinced even if someone rises from the dead. Boom. And in addition to that being kind of a mic drop moment in consideration of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus as described in Matthew and Luke, it's also something that gives us a little clarity about how Jesus thinks about the fact that these miraculous things are happening in front of people, but not everyone is signing up. It also gives encouragement to the disciples who are no doubt looking at this and being like, this seems completely true. I mean, come on, look what he just did. And if you don't remember that, you remember the time that we were in a boat and there was like a hurricane and he was like, nah, stop with the hurricane. And the hurricane just stopped. He cannot be faking all this, can he? There's no way. I saw what I saw. I heard what I heard. This is the real deal. And tomorrow I'm going to see another thing like this because it happens everywhere the guy goes. I mean, if you're the disciples, you're like, in Matthew 10, we went out and did miracles just because he said we could for a couple of weeks. No, it's happening. I'm not crazy. It's just people aren't signing up. And maybe there's this little sliver of doubt that rattles around inside of them. There certainly has been a little sliver of doubt that's rattled around inside of me for this reason. It's not just the miracles, right? I mean, come on, those of you who've been with the Christianity thing for a long time, I mean, has it ever occurred to you that, like, man, if this God is so real and so true, and the things that I've experienced in a life of walking with God and failing, getting stuff right and learning things and all this, if those things are so real, how come they're not present in the lives of others? Or how come other people can't see it? I think the gospel writers, and clearly Jesus himself, anticipate that a sane, reasonable person who wants to follow Jesus and thinks that this is the real deal would have this question. And so in Matthew, at least, before anybody even articulates the question, Jesus is preempting that question and reframing expectations. If anything, he's diminishing expectations. If anything, he's flipping expectations to say, not only will not everyone sign up to follow me because of these amazing things that you guys are seeing all the time, but further, most people won't sign up to follow me in spite of all of these amazing things that you're seeing and that they are seeing. This idea needs to be unpacked for us moving forward through Matthew. It's just going to take another day. We're going to pause right there. And then tomorrow we're going to resume immediately with the same topic. The question of, if all this miraculous stuff is happening in the Bible, how come everybody wasn't signing up? And what does the Bible say about that conundrum? We'll round that out tomorrow, and then we'll get cruising on through the rest of Matthew chapter 12 after that. Okay, we're picking it up where we left off mañana. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Catch you on the next one.